So, Averil, last time we heard about your journey, a bit of a crazy journey to Honduras, and the incredible provision that God had over your life on that journey, and on the way back as well, when your life was in danger. So I know that we're going to talk a little bit more about Honduras itself. So did you want to start from there?
Yes. And this is where I'm going to be, so that I can see all of you. And I hope you can see me. That's okay?
Yeah, as long as the microphone's on.
Okay, I'll try and remember. You help me out. If you see me doing this, just go, and I'll see you, and then I'll go like this. All right? Now, I want you all to relax, because I'm relaxed, and God is here. That's all we need. That's all we need. You relaxed and open and listening, and God, and a mouthpiece. Right? Okay, so I'm going to start with a little history lesson. Who likes history here? Now, come on, be honest. Put your hands up. Let's have a meeting. All right. Well, I've talked in my other talk about the Indians. And, you know, I felt a bit convicted when I got home. I thought they don't know anything about these Indians. You know, just Indians up a mountain. So I'm going to give you a history lesson in about 2 minutes. All right. Now, the Indians that I'm talking about were like the Aztec Indians, only their name was Mayan Indians. And they lived in Honduras. That was their land, right? But at the time of Christopher Columbus, when he was discovering everywhere over the hill, you know, the Americas and all this and that, he went to Honduras. It wasn't called Honduras then. It had an Indian name, right, which was quite okay. But when he came, he saw that it was a land of mountainous, green, ranges and all that. So he said, Honduras, right, which meant depths. And so the land eventually became called Honduras. Now, when he landed, they were in the small boats. All the sailors were in the small boats. The big ship was miles out to sea, just waiting for them. And when he saw the land, and he checked how many soldiers were on board, and Jesuit priests and everything, he decided he was going to conquer. So he got the men to burn the small boats. Have any of you heard of this? You may have heard of this. So they couldn't get back to the ship. They couldn't swim that far. And a lot of sailors couldn't swim. So they had to stay. They got no choice. So then he got the soldiers together. You know how they used to wear those steel helmets, the Spanish conquistadors, you know? And the breastplate. And he put them on horses and told them to ride low on the horse, by the neck of the horse. And he sent them amongst the Indian population. And the Indians thought they were horses and let them through. And then they got up straight and just slaughtered and just won the victory. I didn't think it was much of a victory, but that's what they did. And so they captured Honduras and then began to mistreat the Indians. And the Indians had a chief, and he was called, are you still with me? He was called Lempira, that was his name, and he was a good chief, and they captured him. And when they found out what his name meant, his name, Lempira, meant the bird who flies free. They put him in a cage. You know, he couldn't stand up in it. And they hung him from a tree. And time after time, the warriors that were still around tried to free him. And because it was an iron cage, they couldn't cut it open. And so they were dying, trying to free him. And then they tried to give him water, and they wouldn't give up, these Indians, you know. And these are the ancestors of the Indians I'm talking about. So when we went up the mountain, 2 white faces, and particularly girls, they didn't like us at all. And so they used to torment us. They used to machete the children to the posts, the poor kids. We had to free them. They lost half their hair, and just torment us like that. And at one time, Josie and me got some seeds sent down, vegetables. And so we were so thrilled, and we got all the children to dig the ground and put the seeds in. And we said, just wait, something is going to come up, you know, and all that. And they were all excited. And some of the men Indians ran their donkeys at night right through the vegetable patch, just ploughed it up, you know. And we were crying, and the kids were crying, and we said, no, just wait. There might be something that's still in the ground, you know. And lo and behold, what do you think happened? Come on, what do you think happened? Here and there, a little seed had not been destroyed. And you know what happens when seeds are planted? They come up. You can't stop them. They come up. So we said to the children, you see, if God is doing something here on the farm, you can't destroy it. Anybody had an experience like that? Well, you will be. If you haven't now, you will be. All right. Okay, so there's your history. So we wanted to make friends with these Indians, but we didn't know how. And we went to the Lord, and he said, relationships. And we said, okay, we'll try. You know, just took most of our seeds, you know. And so what we did, we went to the women of the Indians, and we said, could you make us 100 tortillas a day? And they didn't want to, but they said yes. And then eventually, of course, the men twigged on, we would be paying for it. So the contract was done, you know, the deal was done. Okay, so they started making them, and then we found out, now some of you may have heard this, that the women, the cultural way they made tortillas was to sit on a stool, open their legs, and make it at the top, inside of their thighs. Right? Would you like to eat a tortilla? Okay, so when we found out, we said, oh dear. So we said to the children, every meal we are going to pray. And they did. They said, bless the food. I mean, that was fair enough. That's what we needed. So anyway, we went to the women and we said, is there any way that you could do it on the top of your knee? Because the sun would get at it then. Do you understand? Relationships. You've got to keep going. You've got to keep the relationship. So anyway, that worked. That worked. And they did our tortillas, and they got some money, and they were happy. And that, okay. And then a bit later on, well, it was quite a bit later on, they caught a pig. And they only had machetes. Now, you know what a machete is like, don't you? It's not a carving knife. Let's put it like that. So they just hacked the pig like this until it was shredded. But the women came and offered us some. Now that's, we offered, they offered, and we were thrilled about that, right? And then I burst out laughing last week because I realised we had pulled pork way before it was invented. I just sat and laughed. I thought, see, we don't know what God's doing. We don't, you know. And so we cooked it. You had to cook it straight away because we had no refrigeration. We had nothing. And you cooked it and ate it. And a lot of the cooking was done in banana leaves. Have you heard of that? In a fire. Okay. Right, so that's the history bit over. Did you enjoy that? I want to know where you are if you're not enjoying it. Okay. So shall I continue? All right. What I've got then is 3 different incidents that I want to share with you. But they are more than stories. Please don't think I am telling you a story. I'm telling you what happened. I'm telling you how God answered prayer in the most unusual way. And I want all of us in this meeting to give him the glory. That's why I've come. That's why I've come. Okay. So, let's see. Just excuse me while I have a quick look. Oh, dear. Yes. We'd been there 1 year. And we'd got a few older children. We'd got 12 2-year-olds. I thought there'd be a little gasp there. We had 12 2-year-olds. To take them on a walk, which usually fell to me, I had to tie them all together with string so that it was jundle, so that they didn't disappear and end up dinner for whatever. And it always had to be a game. We're having a game. Because they were all tied together and we'd set off and they'd all fall over. Because one would go, the next one would go, the next one. So you got 12 on the floor and they'd say, oh, very good. Now let's see how we can get on. It took hours. I mean, we didn't go anywhere. But it was good exercise because they were up and down, up and down. You had to be very inventive. When you haven't got staff, you've got to be inventive. Okay, so it was Christmas Eve. And I was sitting at this table, just like that. And I said, oh God, I said, actually, we haven't got much food. And I said, we haven't got one present for the children. Now, they weren't used to having presents. I said, what can I do? I was really upset, you know. And so what I did, I got my purse. I picked my purse up. And I threw it on the table. And everything came out. And I said, God, this is what I've got. Now, what have you got? And I got my purse back and put my money back in, closed it up, and went on with work. 1 hour later, there was a tooting at the gate, which was quite away from the house. And the children ran down to the gate and then ran all the way back. And they said, they used to call me Hermana Averil, or whatever. And they said, oh, Mama Averil. And they said, quickly, come, quickly. And we went down. And there was a car with 2 Mennonite girls in, who had been driving for 1.5 hours up the mountain. They were already half an hour up the mountain when I told God I'd like to see what he did. And they had packed it with food, already cooked, so all we had to do was heat it. Food, presents, a football, lots of little sweets and things for the children, oranges, bananas, That was fruit. And they said, this is for you and your children for Christmas. And you know, I cried. As I was trying to say, thank you. Like this, thank you. And the children all came round. They said, what's up? What's the matter? What's the matter? Do you know, God was already on the way to meet a need I hadn't even told him about yet. It was only when I threw what I'd got on the table that he let me know he was bringing what he got. Do you know, we had the best Christmas ever. The children said, oh, it was so wonderful, so wonderful. Right. Okay, so that was one story. That's just to show you, but God. But you know, you have to say something first. Don't moan. Don't just walk about moaning about your lack. Tell God. But God. Okay, that's one story. The second story was Josie and me. We were working away, children were there. And then I heard a cry, a real shriek actually. I went outside. Josie had fell from raftings or something. And she had fell backwards and hit concrete and broke her leg. And the bone was coming out of the leg. Oh my God. And she was going conscious, unconscious like that. And I said, oh. Now Josie was the driver. I didn't drive. At that point, it didn't take long. Right, on a mountain road. Right, so I'm sorry I keep stopping because I tell you, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling 15 children maybe, you know, looking at Josie, me looking at her, me not being able to drive, and them saying, what shall we do? What shall we do? I said, pray, pray. So all these little kids start praying around Josie. And I thought, how do I get her down the mountain? It's a 1.5 hour journey. So I said to the children, get 3 blankets. So we got 3 blankets, put them on the floor, tied them together, and then we rolled Josie. She was screaming her head off at the time, but because it was hurting her. And all we could do, the children and me, was roll her. We couldn't pick her up. And then I said, okay, we're going to have the eldest children on each corner holding the blanket, and we are going to drag her, because they couldn't carry her. Not with a leg like the slightest movement, you know, it was agony. So we dragged her down to the gate. And I said to the children, stay with me and please pray that a vehicle comes down. Now, what do you think the chances are? Come on, I want to hear you. Come on, shout. Somebody say something.
1 in 1,000.
1 in 1,000. Okay, so the kids had prayed, and I stood in the road like this, honestly, and I said, God, I'm believing you for a vehicle that is going down the mountain. We waited 1 hour, me and the children, and then we heard like this. And down the road came a truck, an old truck, and it was full of cabbages. And I said to him, please, will you take me and my friend, look at her leg, take us to a hospital? And he said he would. And I said to the children, go back in the house. And do you remember that girl that had a baby that she asked us to feed it? Well, she was still with us. She said, oh, no, this is home. I'm home. And so I said to her, do not go to sleep until we come back. Now, I didn't know how long that would be, but at least she was with the children. So we got in the back of the truck, on top of the cabbages, And we went for 1.5 hour journey. And he took us, as we neared Tegucigalpa, which is the town, right? As we neared there, he took us to a private clinic because I'd got a white face. And he thought we were rich. And I think. And I knew what I got in my purse. It wouldn't have bought a meal. So I said, God, you're really pushing me. You're really pushing me here. I said, if you're pushing me, you've got to push me right into the answer. So I know what you're doing with me here. So we went to the clinic. It was run by nuns. Nothing against nuns at all. And they saw us and they immediately started telling us the charges, right? So I said, and I was saying to them, look, I have to work something out here. I have to, see what the costs will be and all that. And the doctor came out and he heard me speaking. And he said, British. And I said, oh, yes, British, I'm British, not American, see. And he said, come with me. And we went in the operating room. He said, I will set your friend's leg and put it in a plaster cast if you speak English to me all the time I'm working. What do you think I said? I said, let's go. Now, that had to be God. Now, if you're thinking at this moment in time, oh, it happens to her, but it never happened to me. I'm sorry. It will happen to you. It might not be exactly the same. It might not be in the same country. It might be here. It might be in Littlehampton. But God is waiting to use you and to stretch you until you have more faith in him than you did before.
Averil, I just wanted to stop.
Oh, sorry.
No. I just wanted to ask you a question, because in both of these stories, obviously, when you're in need, God has provided immensely, but you've called out to him.
Yes.
But how do you always, obviously I know that incredible things have happened, so your faith has really been tested and built. How do you always go back to him when you are in time of need? Because I know maybe in some of our everyday lives it's quite hard to think, okay, God can get me through this. If you're having a really hard day at work, or if you've got a really challenging person you're trying to deal with, it's quite hard to go to God in those moments. So how do you keep going back?
Okay. Well, those of you that know God, he will have tested you. There's no question. And he starts off small. It'll be some little thing, and then you get angry, right?
Yeah.
And you think, I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm this, and I'm that. He starts there. But ultimately, you're so miserable with yourself, right? You're so unhappy. You're so grumpy at everybody that in the end, you ask him to forgive you. And he does it. Now, you have had to do something in that situation, or you would have remained in it, right? And so when you're forgiven, you're that little bit stronger. You know God's done something and you can move on. And that is how it is. Now, what I'm telling you, I'm honestly, do you think I was really confident and all this? Do you think I was? Do you think when I saw Josie on the floor with a leg broken and bone sticking out, I knew what to do? Did you? I had to say, I'm not adequate, God. What have you got? I use this sentence quite a lot between me and God. This is what I've got. What have you got? And he's always got a lot more than me. So out of my mouth came Get 3 blankets together and tie them together. And children, you and you, let's drag her down to the gate. Do you see? God is moving you forward. You only got to open your mouth, ask for help. He moves you forward. Get to the road. What did I say? God, send a vehicle. I didn't send a vehicle. It happened to have cabbages in the back. Very often your answer will be the same. It'll be, my goodness, why did he send this? He sent it because he wants to move you on. Right? Get to the clinic. The nuns were saying it's going to cost. I could have run away. I didn't. Because the doctor was coming through the door who heard my British accent and gave me the answer to Joseph's predicament. Do you see? Hang on. Hold on. Say, what are you going to do about this? Okay. Did that answer it?
Thank you. That was perfect.
Okay. Carry on now. Okay. Are you still all right? Are any of you dropping to sleep? Okay, that's good. Right. So what do I say now? 2 stories. I want to tell you one, this 3rd story. And it happened before I ever went to Honduras or the United States. This was when I was in an Elim church, so I'm right like you know, whichever church you're in, right? I was there. I was doing Sunday school, you know, choir, church 2 times a day, you know, whatever it was, I was doing it. And the pastor of the church, he said to me, no, he didn't say to me, he said on a Sunday evening meeting, I'm going to challenge the congregation. Now, have any of you had this? He said, I'm going to challenge you to ask God what he wants you to do. And then do it. Anybody? Come on, hands up. If you've had a pastor challenge you. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's it. Come on. A lot more of you have had that, I'm sure. They've challenged you. Well, I heard him. Have you got it? I heard him. And I went to God when I got back home. And I said, what do you want me to do? And I waited. He didn't say anything. But a few days later, he said, quite definitely to me, there is a new housing estate just being built right next to your road where you live. So I said, oh, yes, that's right. He said, what are you going to do about it? So do you know what I did? I thought there'd be a lot of children on that estate. I wonder if they go to Sunday school. Now, there was a church in the area, but my church was a long way away. So I went knocking on the doors just to see, you know, are you interested? You know, if we got a Sunday school going and all that. But there was no building on this. There was no community centre. There was nothing to take them to. So I went back to God. Can you see this principle? Back to God, purse on table. I said, okay. I was getting children because you know what, parents, they were saying, wow, afternoon off, you know. And so I said, what am I going to do? There's nowhere for them to go. He said, hire a bus. Well, any of you done that? So I thought, well, actually, I'd better go back to the pastor and let him know what's happening here, because he didn't know. So I went back and I said, look, this is the situation. I said, but God said, hire a bus to get them here. And I said, have you got enough teachers for a start? Right? And he said, oh, no, he said, you can do it. But he said, I'm going to tell you now that the church can't pay for the bus. Well, obviously, a lot of people have had this experience. So I said, oh, well, what'll happen then? He said, well, that's very good, the children. I said, okay, I'll pay them. I was 22 years old and I wasn't earning that much. I said, I'll take care of the bus, and then when you can, help me out. We ended up with 100 children being bussed in, 3 or 4 to a seat, right? Because I tried to keep it a single decker. It was ridiculous. And they loved it. And the parents did as well, I'll tell you. And so, do you know, we didn't just take the children, we got friendly with the parents. And some ended up coming to the meeting. Right? And then God began to call me to the United States. I said, oh, goodness me. I said, who's going to take over the bus? Or is it going to fold? And my sister, who some of you know her, Betty, she stepped right in. She said, as you walk out the door, she said, I'm picking it up. And so that was the third story. More than a story. Do you know kids came to Christ? Do you know parents came to the meeting? And I was poor. I didn't have a lot of money. But people came to help me, do you see? When you see God at work, you are willing to help. You are willing to pick it up. So that's the third story. Now, I'm just going to say something, and it's quite out of context, really, but I just can't resist it. All right, I walked in this building. I knew I was going to speak. I don't consider myself a professional speaker or anything like that. But I sat down at that table, and I opened my hand up, and I threw me on the table. Same principle. I said, here I am. What do you want to say? And he just said this to me while I was sitting there, having my breakfast and talking and sharing and being with people. He gave me a baby that was put in my arms, whose name is River. He gave me a river, right? This is before I spoke. He touched me with a river. This week, I went out for coffee with a forest. It was wonderful. I couldn't get to a Liberty because too many people were having it. Like there, right. Do you see? God said, I've got a lot to bless you with, me. Before you speak, I'm blessing you. Open your eyes, people. Give God a chance. Let him do the unexpected. Let him care through you. Do you know your smile could change somebody's day? Do you know, don't walk past people. I know what it's like. You say, how are you? And then they tell you, I know. But just be sensitive. Do you know God healed Josie's leg while she was up the mountain because we had no money to go back and get it sorted. He healed it. And the children saw a miracle. So anyway, there's the stories.
Thank you so much, Averil. I hope you didn't mind that I didn't ask you too many questions.
If you've got any questions.